Good day and welcome to another edition of One-on-One with Swope Health. I am your host, Eric Wesson. Thanks so much for joining us today. You could be doing a ton of different things, but you took time out to be with us today, and I really appreciate that. So joining me today is Ms. Ruth Ramsey. Ruth is doing round two of One-on-One with Swope Health. Ruth, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I'm one of your favorites.
You just have a lot of content going on. Mentor Me. That is I Can and I Will. It is a program based on black men speaking and mentoring young black men and boys.
Yes.
So how did this come about?
Well, as you know, in November of 2022, I released the first edition of Black Men Speak, which was an introduction of black men and bringing an awareness to black men in our community. So we released a special edition so that we could really uplift black men, let them know that they had value and purpose, and we wanted to feature them in our publication in the special edition because black men are doing amazing and phenomenal things here in Kansas City and around the country. And I don't want that understanding to be lost in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. And so you came up with this next phase of it. So is this a multi-part process?
Well, what I call the first edition was my inaugural edition of Black Men Speak, so I see it as a series. And so this is the second in the series of Black Men Speak. And our focus and our theme is Mentor Me, I Can and I Will. The Mentor Me is the thought of a kid who's out there who needs to be mentored, wants to be mentored, and is waiting to be mentored. Mm-hmm. And the response to that is the black men saying, I can and I will. I can means he's capable, he's able, and he's willing. And so that the I will is I will do it. And so this second edition and this part two, if you will, of Black Men Speak is a call to action for black men in our community to mobilize all of them, get their attention, and get them to the table and to the organizations who need them. Mm-hmm. We're finding there are many organizations, surprisingly, when we started this research on who's out there, who's mentoring youth. And there are quite a few in our community. For example, I reached out to Big Brothers and Sisters and just querying them about what they do, what their needs are, and asked her, would you be interested, do you have a lot of black male mentors? And the response was no, we don't have enough of black men. We have 70% of our black males are waiting to get a black male mentor. And so they are in dire need of and want to bring and engage black men in their programming with their black males that they serve.
So why do you think that is? Why do you think black men or seem to not want to be engaged in a formal process like this? Why do you think that is?
I don't think it's that they don't. I think many men don't really know. It's the awareness part. Men are busy. They're trying to make a living. They're out there just trying to survive, and take care of themselves, their families. And I just think they're just not aware. They don't know what the data says about the state of black boys, that their deficiencies in their education, how they're not performing well in school. And we know there's behavior problems. If you talk to teachers who teach young children in school, I've heard teachers who are teaching second and third graders who say that those children will actually walk out of the room, will curse them, will not do anything they ask them to do. So there's a need, the young children, we need mentors, and certainly the home is important and the home should be doing their job. But sometimes children are not getting what they need at home. And that is the role of a mentor, is to come and undergird and to support those things that perhaps a child isn't getting anywhere else.
In my experience, we have these programs like this, and they just seem to kind of die by the wayside. And I guess it gets back to your point about men having so many other things on their plate at a particular time. But how do we get the churches involved? How do we get, because fraternities, they have programs where they mentor, but they usually don't do them on a consistent basis. So how do we get it? And I guess this is what your program that's going to be at the Gym Theater is about. How do we get black men engaged and keep them engaged?
We first have to show them, number one, and let them know that they are needed, that they have value, and they have something that they can contribute. Sometimes it's just that men are saying, I didn't know. You know, yes, and we need to also let them know it's not they don't have to invest hours and hours of their time every week, every month. But yes, there is a commitment where they have to interact and engage with their mentee. But we need to allow them to see themselves doing this, especially if they have a heart for it. If the men are seeing what we all see, what is happening in our community, in our communities with our young black males, and I'm talking about the boys in particular. I know they say, well, what about the girls? But we're saying, let's work with these boys. Let's work with the males. You know, these are and should be the foundation of every family, is to have a strong black male out there to take care of his family and to be a good citizen in our community. But I think once the men understand that they're needed, I think they'll come. We can get them. We can get them to the table. We can prepare them. You know, there are some orientations involved. There's a process involved that qualifies them to be a mentor, especially in an organized organization, which is certainly required and necessary. But I just think it's they don't know. They're not hearing what the problems are. They're not understanding that, and they have the time, those who really want to do something to help make a difference in the community.
So you have Jamal here, and he is saying, I was an angry kid and didn't think anyone cared. That was until I met the man who will become my lifelong mentor. Being mentored saved my life. I would not have made it without his help. Now, that's a powerful statement.
That's a powerful statement, and that is something that is being voiced by many boys that I have discovered that we're featuring in our book. The community will be very excited to read the stories of men who have been mentoring for years. My own brother, Walter Pearson, has mentored for well over 30 and 40 years. And I was able to reach out to a couple of his mentees, and they said, yeah, Mr. Pearson mentored me when I was 10 years old. And this kid is 60 now, 50s and 60s. And I thought, wow. I knew he was mentoring kids all through his life, but it does make a difference. And it's not to say that every kid who's mentored is always successful and it's rosy and beautiful all the time, but that child was touched, and that child has an opportunity to have a better life, has the potential to succeed better, because there's somebody who's alongside of them, and it is a man. It is somebody they can look up to, somebody who's a caring adult black male.
And that's probably more important than anything, is just having that person there that you can kind of call and talk me off the edge of the cliff. I have people that I call like that, and I'm a little bit over 21, and I have men that I call to talk me off the cliff. And I think you never get too old to not have a male mentor, somebody that kind of guides you a little bit.
I am so happy you said that, because that was going to be a part of hopefully me saying that before I left today. Men need mentors.
Absolutely.
And you'll be surprised, there are some men who do not have another man that they can call and just share some of the things that they're going through that could help them get through it. There are a lot of people who are committing suicide, and I think the stats show that more black men are committing suicide, more black youth are committing suicide.
Right.
So there is something to be said about, there's something I've kind of come up with that says we're trying to increase and applaud the manhood of black men. Men, you are powerful. You have worth. You have value.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to get that across, and we want men to come to support black boys and connect themselves with these organizations that need them. Our plan following the event and this year is to sponsor mentoring forums and sessions that educate men and other people in the community about what it takes to be a mentor,
Right.
what's involved, what are the requirements, what are the expectations, what are the reasons for doing it, what are the goals for doing it, and
Right.
how you can do it.
And how you can communicate with young people, because a lot of times in our generation process and think about things different than today's generation. Mm-hmm. And kind of where do you make that connection at? Because everybody can't mentor everybody. Mm-hmm. It has to be somebody that they have some kind of relationship with, or they can build a relationship mm-hmm. with, and be able to understand the things that they go through. A lot of times we have a tendency to say that walking around with their pants hanging out their butts are ridiculous, and we have a tendency to forget when we were walking around with rags hanging out of our back pocket, talking about we were in the Purple Gang, and we were showing people we had silk underwear on and stuff back in the day. When I was growing up, that was a thing to do. So it's no different. It just looks different now than it did then. Yeah, but you still have to have that connection to where you understand. We have to come off our high horse sometime and understand that these guys are just like us when we were their age. It just looks different.
Right. And like you say, the different generations, what is it, Generation Z?
I don't know, X, Y, Z, W. I'm
lost. The Generation Alpha, which just someone brought to my attention a few days ago. The Alpha generation is that younger generation born in the year 2000, 2010. Mm-hmm. We're looking at needing to reach back to the very young child, mm-hmm. as young as 6 and above.
Right.
We're focusing and helping people understand that we've got to capture that, I'll say 8 to 18, mm-hmm. That group of young people, so that we can begin to, again, structure and reshape, where they are and where they're going in life and what they understand about life.
Mm-hmm. And it's totally different. Mm-hmm. EJ, that's my son, Eric Jr., he's 10. And sometimes we have our man to boy talks. He calls them man to man talks, and I always tell him I'm one man short. But but we have those conversations, and sometimes I scratch my head like, do you really think like that? Mm-hmm. And I think that it's good and it's healthy for us to have those conversations, and we have them every morning while I'm dropping him off to school. Mm-hmm. So we have that constant connection, but it's difficult understanding and being able to relate to the things that young people go through. Mm-hmm. And I say that because, and I know I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but young people now, they have access to so much information. When we were growing up, we looked in the encyclopedia, right. And we had to find what volume to look up and go through and learn the alphabet so we know where to get it. But now they can Google it. Yeah. They can see things that aren't appropriate on the internet.
They're growing up on social media.
They're growing up on social media.
Things that we would never have seen.
Never imagined seeing. But we're not offering a counter. Mm-hmm. And I think that mentoring programs like this will allow young boys to see an alternative mm-hmm. to the things that they're being bombarded with every day.
And the thing that is important is a man is going to, some men, as an example, black men have many life experience that either went they either had a good experience or a bad experience in their life. And so that travels with them, throughout their life. And when they become a mentor, they will know and recall the circumstances of their life. And they can use that as a lessons learned. They know the pitfalls of not having the type of support or the structure in one's life that will help them to excel later. So they bring with them a treasure trove of wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and we want them to be able to impart that to children. The other thing I wanted to share is when a child is mentored, keep in mind, if they're in a mentoring relationship over a period of time, we're shaping the life of that young child. He can also become a mentor, peer mentor to his friends. And one of our questions to the young mentees that we're going to talk to and feature, one of the questions is, have you learned something that you can share with another boy your age? Is there something that you've learned that you have shared or that changed your life or helped you to understand something that you've shared with another boy? So, how we're saying in the community, we've got all these kids and they're just, disrupting everything in the community. What if these young children who are being taught and are being raised to be more productive and respectful and successful, they can pass that on to their peers as well, because they can influence someone with a good attitude to have a better attitude. They can be the educators of their own peers as well.
Right.
So we have to look at the big picture, the global benefits of this whole idea of mentoring. Yes, the men, the children, and the children also being mentors themselves with peers that they're being exposed to.
So who have you reached out to? Have you reached out to the churches, the fraternities?
I'm happy to say, and we want people to really come out on Saturday, February 24th is a Saturday morning. Doors open at 10. We will have breakfast, so you don't have to grab breakfast. We'll have it for you.
Breakfast, or donuts and orange juice?
A brunchy breakfast. It won't be coffee and donuts. It'll be a little bit more than that. But we just want families, we want the moms, the kids, the men especially, to come out. We do have a slate of people on program. Our mayor Lucas will be there. Do you hear me, Mayor? I have a confirmation he'll be there. But also we have Bernard Franklin. Many people in Kansas City will know Dr. Bernard Franklin. He's a nationally recognized, passionate advocate of children, and he's worked in the field of youth development probably for over 25, 30 years. So he's going to be one of our program individuals on program. We have a special guest from Atlanta, Georgia, and we're proud to say that Louis Negron, who's the executive director of the 100 Black Men of Atlanta, is coming to Kansas City. I reached out to him and said, hey, we're doing a mentoring program initiative. I know you do that in your organization. There's a local 100 Black Men of Kansas City.
Right.
And I'm proud to hear that they are just really getting motivated to do more things here in Kansas City, and they are gearing up to do a lot of great things this year. So Louis Negron from Atlanta, 100 Black Men, executive director, is going to be here. He'll share about the importance and his passion for mentoring and many of the programs they do. But he's coming basically to say, Kansas City, I applaud you for this effort to bring Black men together with Black boys and organizations to mentor. Jamal Berry, he's the president and CEO of EduCare, one of Washington, D.C.'s largest nonprofits of early childhood education. And what I loved about him when I spoke with him, he said, not many Black men go into early childhood education, and that they are needed at that level of a young child's education. Those are the little toddlers.
Right.
And probably Black men don't think, well, that's a field they should go into or that they're not interested in. And maybe they're not embraced well enough to know that they're wanted. So he's an advocate for Black men being involved in early childhood education. And so he's nationally recognized. He's an authority on it. And one of his things is that he wants to work to eliminate the opportunity gap for young children experiencing poverty and educational deficits, you know. And so he'll be here to share about why young black children need early childhood education. So that's a serious and a very important point.
Absolutely.
We'll also have a local jazz band. There's a couple by the name of James and Angela Ward. They started a nonprofit to teach underserved youth how to play musical instruments. And so they're going to bring their high school jazz band. And they're excellent. From what I hear, they are quite a great, professional for their level band, jazz band, and they'll enjoy hearing those. And we're going to have Dr. Nathan Goss. I don't know if you know Dr. Goss. He is one of Kansas City's best-kept secrets. He is a black orthopedic surgeon. He's going to be a part of our program. Dr. Goss he looks like a college student, but he's actually an orthopedic surgeon, and he shared with us that he's only one of 600 in the nation of black orthopedic surgeons. And so he'll share about health. He's going to speak about black men's health and what they should understand about their health. We're going to have organizations, Cornell Ellis, who's with Block, which is a nonprofit that supports black men in education. And their whole goal and drive is to support black men who are interested as black teachers and educators, to support them and give them the support they need to stay in the educational system. One of the things I learned from him is that they found that a black man or male teacher in the educational system actually is able to bring more to a black child than they ever get from any other type of a teacher, that they get, and they're more successful when they have a black teacher in the system.
That's why when I started my journey, I wanted to be an educator. I taught third grade, I taught fifth grade, and I wanted to be, and Dwayne Crompton is the person that got me involved in it, because I learned that black boys after third grade just hang around long enough to drop out because their test scores, start to decline and their attention span, and then the system then would label them behavior disorders, and the next thing you know, they're trying to give them Ritalin or medicate them to keep them stable, when the actuality was they were just bored. They weren't being challenged. They could do the work, get through with the work. Okay, now what? You want me to just sit in my seat until everybody else gets through with theirs? So I understand the basic need for having black men in a classroom. But one of the things when you were going through the list, I thought about was the mentoring. So is there a difference between being a mentor and a role model? Because jobs, you mentioned a doctor. That's a profession. I could mentor somebody with that. Me as a journalist. Is there a difference between being a mentor and a role model?
I wouldn't say there's a difference. I think it's the terminology you're using. But think about it. Whether a man is in an active, formalized mentoring relationship or not, a black kid sees you. I wanted to also share this before we leave today. The motto of the 100 Black Men of America is, what they see is what they will be. So that's the role model. And so role modeling is, paying attention to who you are and what you're doing, because somebody is watching you, right?
Right.
And so you're called a role model because that's basically saying somebody is looking at what you're doing, and you are creating a pathway or an example of life by your actions. And so a mentor is someone, certainly, that's kind of an active person involving themselves with a kid, if you will, in a specific area of their life. But the role model that person still is a role model because of who they are and what they do and how they project themselves. So, there's a relationship there in the terminology of what that means. But it is, as a mentor, we want the men to know that, yes, a kid may be watching you, and you may not have had a direct relationship or interaction with the kid, but that kid saw you. Mahomes is a role model. Many boys look up to athletes, correct?
Right. Right.
But there are more than athletes out here in our community. There's Dr. Gauze. He's a black orthopedic surgeon. There are teachers. There's Jaron Raven, who's a CEO of a major community health center here in Kansas City.
Right.
There are police officers. There are many men in Mr. Whalen, who you just featured recently, a black man in finance and financial literacy and investments and knowing what wealth building is. So those are role models. And of course, mentors will come with their backgrounds in so many different fields. So they'll share based upon what certainly their educational and knowledge is. But again, every black man and everybody who hears this podcast should know all of us are role models. Our emphasis is on the black men and the black boys, and we want to connect them so that this energy and this knowledge can flourish. We've got to build and heal. Mr. Negron, the CEO of the Atlanta 100 Black Men, what some of their messaging is to heal and protect. Their mission is to heal and protect the youth of their city. Our kids need to be protected. They need to be healed from things that have damaged their lives. And some of them are damaged very early in their homes because perhaps there's not a stable home environment. That is where the problems are. Not every home has a dysfunctional home, as we all like to say sometimes, or where there's not the support that a kid needs, or the education, or the training, and the love. Kids need to be loved.
Right, absolutely.
A lot of kids are doing things because they don't feel loved.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
correct.
feel like nobody cares. We need to let them, black boys, know they are loved, they have value, and they have worth.
And somebody does care about
And someone, we and the men do care.
Yeah. So how do people become involved? How do they come to your workshop that's going to be, do they have to RSVP? What needs to be done?
The event on Saturday, February 24th from 10 to 1, it's a free event. It's free to the community. We would like to know how many people are coming and want to come. It's not required to buy a ticket or anything, but we're asking those who can to go to Eventbrite, and they can go to mentor, mentor, me.eventbrite.com. So mentor-me.eventbrite.com. They can go there to request a free ticket, a seat for that event on that Saturday.
Okay. And if you forget all of that, then over the next several weeks there'll be an ad in the Next Page KC newspaper, and they will have all this information that's in the flyer in there so that people can connect and make the necessary arrangements and know about it. And if they don't want to come or they can't come, pass it on to somebody else.
Right. Just let mothers of boys know
Absolutely.
that, hey, there's somebody in the community that can help you with your child. Rather than let the kid just watch TV and play games all day on the weekend. Get them in a mentoring. There are different types of mentoring opportunities. There's group mentoring. The school district is involved in an amazing mentoring program that they actually have mentors who come into the schools. But there are individual one-on-one mentoring opportunities with organizations. There's group mentoring opportunities. And so we're going to connect those who want the mentors who want, men who want to become mentors, and the kids who want to be mentored. We're connecting all those dots. We want to be the connector of those opportunities between black men and boys and the moms and the community.
We have had Miss Ruth Ramsey, Our Health Matters, and her program is going to be taking place here in Kansas City. And I would encourage you to go out and be a part of it when it comes on the 24th. And spread the word, pass it on, let other people know that we have this program in our community. Sometimes we have to know better so that we can do better. And this is the opportunity that we have to do that. Ruth, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. May I share that we have some wonderful sponsors, especially Swope Health, who at this second edition has also continued to support the work of Our Health Matters and connecting families to a better life in Kansas City. So we want to thank Swope Health Center, certainly Sam Rogers and School District and REACH and Health Forward Foundation, many people who know there's a need and they are advocates and want to make sure that we can do this for our community.
Thank you. As always, we have the greatest viewing audience in the world. Till next time, remember, tough times don't last, tough people do. Until next time, peace.